time, not continuously, but primarily because being in the party, we're familiar with Marx's concept and the basic teachings of Marx. Contribution that Marx made was that he discovered the relationship between the ownership of the means of production and its appropriation individually. The fact that production is produced collectively, but that the considerable period of time, not continuously, but primarily because being in the party, familiar with Marx's concept and the basic teachings of Marx. Now, one of the fundamental one of the most important contributions that Marx made was that he discovered the relationship between the ownership of the means of production and its appropriation individually. The fact that production is produced collectively, but that the ownership is individually owned, is individually appropriate. Now, however we may formulate it, and this constitutes a fundamental contradiction. Well, many years ago, when I was teaching this, a comrade asked me, why is it a contradiction? Why? Now, the reason why I bring it up is because I was talking to what I consider to be a very wonderful comrade in the party. And because I was engaged in other things, I started to talk politics and racism, trade, and contradiction between the ownership of the means of production and its appropriation by the rule. And this comrade also asked me, well, why is it a contradiction? Is it? I said to myself, now, not just this is deja vu, you know. It must be that it is a difficult concept, and that we in the party and the movement accept it so readily, but that it is not easily proven. It's not easily made understandable. So I went back to the examples and how I tried to answer it in such a way that years ago as to make it more clear today. I mean, I don't know how many times I've repeated it in the course of many years in the party, that the fundamental contradiction in capitalist society is between the ownership of the means of production by the few, and that the production of it is, whereas the other end, by the workers. And again, the question is, so why is it contradictory. Earlier, utopian socialists saw this very important contradiction, like Saint Simon and others, and they opposed it, but mostly from a moral point of view, that it being unjust, that it was unjust, because it helped the few at the expense of the many. And from the point of view of their conception of morality, they opposed. But Marx opposes it not from the point of view of morality, but from the point of view of the evolution of society, of the class struggle in general, and the class struggle of the working class against the capitalists in particular. So it bears a more clarification. And as much as I have thought about it, I have been able to explain it more easily, to make it more clear than one or two examples that I have given. For instance, if Marx says in his opening page on capitalist society, the very first line on capital, he says, in capitalist society, we are confronted at the very beginning, see, with an immense accumulation of commodities. That's what we see, an immense accumulation of commodities. And then he goes on to explain what a commodity is, the twofold character of labor, and so on. But looking at it from another angle, by looking at the same phenomenon, we look at a commodity which is congealed labor time. That's what it is. It's labor time. It's labor in it. Of course, there are natural raw materials that go with all that, but fundamentally, what we're concerned with and what makes it a commodity finally is that it has labor time and that it is sold on the capitalist market. Looking at it as an immense accumulation of commodities, and then saying to ourselves, well, the commodity is nothing but a lot of labor. I think it is correct to add, as we look at it, see, that this immense accumulation of commodities, wherever we go, it is collective labor. It's collective labor, see. It's not one single commodity that you can point to that is the work of a single individual only. We can say that the video that's set up here is the work of one comrade. It's the accumulation of hundreds and thousands of workers and millions of labor time, millions of them. This cup of water, this cup of no individual can say that he or she made it. Even in ancient times when they made pottery, they still had to have raw materials, and some of it was worked up. So as we look about it all, what we see is collective labor. Now individuals work on raw materials or parts to be assembled, but it's all collective. There's virtually no item that we can say is solely and exclusively the product of one individual. Now, of course, there are artists and composers and architects and doctors and so on. I should leave out doctors. But whatever they work on a canvas, that's collective labor by others. Or the paper and pen and pencil, it's all collective labor, see. The artist can't, when he picks up a brush to brush it, that's not made by an individual person. It's made by hundreds of thousands.